Won't dry off, keeps flowing.
Won't dry off, keeps flowing. Won't dry off, keeps flowing. Won't dry off, keeps flowing.
Hi and welcome. I cannot stress enough how important it is to know your irregular verbs, and also to know verbs that might look like irregular ones, but are regular after all. Now, Mr. Krzyżanowski makes a big point of that in this book, so if you haven't got it yet, please do get it as fast as you can. And go to page 254, I believe, where he makes a big point of that. He explains some of the most typical regular verbs that seem like irregular ones, and also the irregular ones that are often mixed up. Okay? Really, it's worth doing. Pages 254 to 256. Now, the examples that I'm going to present, well, there are going to be 13 of them, and they've been taken out of only 4 different Olympics tests. So 13 to 4, which means that there'll be definitely more than just one example in which you'll be tested on your irregular versus regular verb forms. Okay? Now have a look at the first task. It's been taken out of test H actually, the last test in every examination, every Olympics paper. Well, there's some noise behind the window. I hope it'll stop in a minute. It seems like an easy thing to do, just pick one answer out of 4. It doesn't need to be so. And the right answer here is actually B, has lain. It has to be the present perfect tense, first of all, and secondly, it has to be a form of a verb to lie, as in leżeć. Okay, so it's lie, lay, and lain. So it has lain in math for nearly a millennium up until now. If you were thinking of picking D and going for D, don't. As I've mentioned earlier in the previous film, Mr. Krzyżanowski is an old school guy, and this type of people will never use the past continuous tense with 4. Okay. The next one is this, once again taken out of test G. The right answer is D, because stick is irregular, so it's stick, stuck, and stuck. Okay, not was sticking, not have stacked. It's a short narrative. Past forms are preferred here, typically past simple ones, not past progressive or continuous ones. So yeah, here you are, stick, stuck, stuck, learn this. Okay, the next few examples will have been taken out of test F, which is all about being able to paraphrase the sentences given. So, Dad didn't understand why it had cost more to fly to Athens than back home. Now, it's not really that crucial that you use the past perfect tense, even though I would personally recommend that. I mean, the sequence of tenses and so on. But cost is irregular, so it's not costed, and definitely, since it's it's an example checking your knowledge of reported speech, it cannot be why did it cost or anything like that, or had it cost. No, why it cost, why it had cost would be cool. All you need to fill in is a single word, actually, in this one. The 2 years spent at the campus hardly broadened Bayer's horizons. Now, broaden is regular, but a lot of people will assume that since its infinitive form ends with en or in en, it might have something to do with verbs like eat, ate, eaten, and so on. There's this false connection in some people's heads. No. Like anything ending with en in the infinitive w bezokoliczniku will typically be a regular verb. Okay? And the next one. At the airport, the guests were welcomed by one of the governor's officials. So you need to use the passive voice here in the past simple tense, and welcome is a regular verb. So it's not like come, came, come. No, it's welcome, welcomed, welcomed. And Mr. Krzyżanowski makes a big point of that at page 256 of his book. So yeah, check it out, really. It's worth trying. Okay, the next few examples will be from the ever so scary test G. So the one in which you just need to fill in the gaps with the right forms of verbs in brackets. And really many of those are about your knowledge of irregular versus regular verb forms. So, without further ado, I recommend you pausing the recording now and doing it on paper, but I'm fairly sure very few of you will. So, here are the right answers. The price of gold hit an all-time high after the crisis had set in last fall. Likely for us, though, it has been declining ever since. So hit is irregular, set is irregular. You'd be advised to use the past perfect tense, like by myself personally, but Mr. Krzyżanowski does not insist on that. He's not a big fan of the past perfect tense. He just needs to, or expects you to use it only when it's absolutely necessary. And the next example, I suppose she hasn't shed a single tear since we split. It seems we were not just meant for each other. So she hasn't shed is irregular, shed, since we split. Now, I'll make a big point of that personally. A lot of people don't know that a since clause, a clause that follows since, has to be in the past simple tense. Yeah, it does. It always, virtually always does. So since we split is irregular again. Split. It seems we were not just meant, and were not meant is a passive voice, so it's past participle form of mean, which is irregular again, so meant for each other. I'm not surprised at, no past here really, at what is going on now. I'm not surprised at what's going on, as I've been following the story since the dam burst. So have been following the present perfect, progressive or continuous, whatever you call that, since the dam burst. So once again, a since clause. I'll be talking about it a little bit more in a future film, but it'd be really advisable if you could remember it. From now on, a since clause is always a past simple tense clause. And burst is irregular again, so it's burst, and burst. I love this one. It's a really lovely example. The girl sobbed again and laid her head on her mother's lap. The woman stroked the tightly wound curls on her daughter's head. She smiled reassuringly. "Oh, Amy, don't cry." Sobbed, regular. Okay, laid. Mr. Krzyżanowski says it's regular, but I don't know. It's laid, and laid, not to be mixed up with lie. And again, he mentions that in his book. The woman stroked. A lot of people mix it up with strike, struck. No, stroke is głaskać, so it's regular, this one. Tightly wound curls. Once again, it looks like wind, or like something else, but actually it's wind, which is kręcić. So gęste loki, mocno skręcone, ciasno skręcone loki, right? And it's wind, wound. It's spelled like wound, rana, but again, it's a different word. It's pronounced differently too. Okay, another one of those ones that I really do appreciate. The eagle caught on film over Blue Lake might have been the female ringed in Dakota 2 years ago. Several rangers spotted her the same day. So uchwycony, caught, catch is irregular, catch, caught. And it's not was. We're not sure. And we find out about that in the last sentence. We can't be sure, right? And it's really typical of Mr. Krzyżanowski to be putting this kind of problems, like extra problems that only the most observant, in the sense of spostrzegawczy, of Olimpiada goers will notice. So it might have been, could have been, may have been, any of these really, but there needs to be a modality used here. Ringed, yeah, because it's not ring, rang, rung, it's ring as in zaobrączkować, and it's regular. And spotted is regular again. Okay? two more of those lovely ones taken out of test G. When the bill was passed, yeah, the passive voice is expected here, that the bill did not pass by itself. It was passed by some representative of a nation, MPs, whatever, and became law of the land. Most of the really big trees had been felled. Once again, the verb fell, it's not fall, fell, fallen, it's fell, felled, felled. It's a regular one. It means zrąbać drzewo, ściąć drzewo. And the past perfect tense should be used here because by then, by that point, everything, all that had happened. They had been felled. The alliance of the local people and the ecologists should have started the campaign against logging much earlier. So they didn't, clearly. Once again, you have to be really careful about reading that example as a whole and predict that a modality is needed here. It didn't happen, but it should have. The parcel was bound with one piece of string, knotted at the top and sealed with red wax. What aroused the customs' suspicion was that it weighed very little for its size. Was bound, irregular, bind, bound, bound. Knotted, regular. Sealed, regular. Arouse, regular. Once again, yeah, it's reminiscent of arise, but it's not the same word. Arouse is wzbudzić, something like inspire, and it's regular. And weigh is regular again, so it's not weight. Oh my god, never do that. It's weighed with an ed at the end. And the final one is by all means the hardest one of those. And if I remember correctly, you could have scored 2 points for that one. So, told to wait another half hour, Ida made herself comfortable in the leather armchair. It's another one of those narrative pieces, so past simple forms will dominate. Her imagination flowed freely as she saw herself as a scriptwriter in Hollywood. Suddenly, her heart sank as her eye spotted something familiar. Yes, it was her manuscript flung mercilessly into a huge wastepaper bin. So, flow is regular. Again, in the book. Sung, irregular. In the book. Spotted, regular. In the book, if I remember correctly again. Flung, yeah, I think it's on the list that's at page 255. No comments. Pretty hard, but do believe me, if you just spend like literally 10 minutes studying pages 254 to 256, you are bound to get better. And like definitely your likelihood of scoring more points will be higher. Okay, so I'll see you next week, right? We'll be discussing some more ambitious problems, I'm sure. Okay, bye.